Thanks for joining our quarterly Oracle Integration Webcast. I'm Jürgen, Kress, part of the product management team. In case you missed one of our webcasts, on-demand recordings are available. For details, please see our quarterly newsletter and subscribe to our Oracle Video Hub channel. In today's presentation, we would like to welcome a guest speaker. Johannes, welcome to the webcast.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So you are the integration expert from PROMATIS, and you work a lot with Oracle integration and in specific with SOA Suite on the cloud.
Yes, exactly. I'm using that a lot to build integrations in our projects. And recently I've used a lot of the Docker images, and I'm looking forward to showing you and the audience today how we were using this in some projects.
Well, thanks. With us is Ravi Pinto. Ravi, good evening.
Hey, Jürgen. Good afternoon. How are you doing?
Thank you. What are you going to present today?
There are two parts to my story today. The first one is about OIC, the features that we've released in 2410 and a little bit about what we are doing in projects. And then the second part, I would talk about a little bit about SOA before handing over to Johannes for the actual, SOA on Docker information.
So you stand in for Niall, who is on the plane. Are you going to show
Yes.
the demo?
Yeah. So Niall is on plane, so he couldn't join today, but yes, I will be standing in for him.
Okay, cool. And with us is Milad. Milad, good morning to the Bay Area.
Hi, thank you so much. Good day to you too and everyone else.
So you will give us an update on the latest upgrades to Oracle Integration 3.
Yes, yeah, I'll quickly review what's left of upgrade, when we started, how long we've come along, and it'll be exciting.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So SaaS services like Oracle ERP, HCM, and CX need to be connected. Oracle Integration offers certified adapters and pre-built connectivity. Objective of today's call is to provide you the latest product information and resources to implement successful Oracle integration and to utilize the whole iPaaS platform. So let's get started. Quick housekeeping. Today's session is live and this presentation is being recorded. Please feel free to post your questions via the conference Q&A tool in the Zoom console. At the end of the webcast, we will answer them. Slides and an on-demand webcast will be posted at Oracle Video Hub. We will post announcement links in the conference chat. Please complete the online survey at the end of the webinar. Please pay attention to the safe harbor statement. Please do blog about the services which are available today, and please do not blog about upcoming information. So I will kick off the session with some short announcements and then hand over to Ravi for the latest new features on Oracle integration, and Johannes for the SOA Suite on Docker. We will also ask then Milad to present the latest on the Upgrade 3 initiative. At the end of the webcast, we will answer your questions. Quick announcements. We run every quarter in each region now customer success webcasts. The next one will take place January 8th for Europe, Middle East, and Africa, and we will hear from Flexagon how to upgrade and how to use CI/CD for London Heathrow Airport and Schreiber. Please visit the webpage for registration. All events and upcoming information are published in our quarterly newsletter. If you are not yet a subscriber, please register now. Oracle integration is part of the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure free trial program. You can build, test, and deploy Oracle integration and connect your applications. The trial is valid for up to 30 days. As part of the Oracle integration documentation, you can use the Oracle Live Labs to build a demo and proof concepts. Those Live Labs include all the training material you need, so please visit the documentation page. If you want to work with a certified partner like PROMATIS, please look up Partner Finder. In Partner Finder, you can search for certified experts. You can search also for their success stories and references by region and by product. In Oracle Cloud Marketplace, you can search for Oracle Cloud Services and also third-party adapters. If you have questions, if you need support, please collaborate on Cloud Customer Connect. There you can start conversations, you can submit innovations, and you can earn badges. Today's webcast is recorded and will be published at Oracle Video Hub. Please subscribe to receive the latest updates. With this short introduction, I would like to hand over to Ravi. Ravi, over to you.
Okay, so good morning, good evening, everyone. Good afternoon also, wherever you are. Before I go into the presentation, I want to talk quickly about customers who are using SOA CS. Please note that SOA CS is being retired on 31st May 2025. Working with a customer who has SOA CS, please move from SOA CS, migrate from SOA CS to SOA Marketplace. There is a migration tool available free of charge, so you can use that and get the customer deployment moved over to SOA Marketplace. So let me go into the main part of the agenda, which is to talk about the 2410 features and a little bit about what we have done a little after that. But primarily, first, we'll talk about what the evolution of Oracle integration is heading towards. So Oracle integration is moving towards becoming a business automation platform. This is what we always had in mind. And as you see features evolving, you are seeing the evolution of OIC as the business automation platform that enables you to integrate applications, automate your workflows, use robots for automating human workflows or repetitive work, and then also do business-to-business transactions, be able to run decisions. We'll talk a little bit more about that a little later. Orchestrate AI services and be able to provide you with AI abilities to help achieve your task faster, whether it's the OIC development, the automation projects that you're building, or going beyond that. Now, what this platform essentially enables you to do is connect to all these systems and services, irrespective of where they are available, where they are providing their functionality from. And that enables you to build up the applications which are consistent in data across enterprise. So you build data-driven, innovative applications that increase productivity, reduce cost, and create engaging experiences. So this is what our focus with OIC is as we move into 2025. You will see it continue to evolve as a business automation platform going forward. So let's quickly talk about what we did in 2410 and continuing further. So upgrade has been a focus area for us, and there's a special session that Milad will do. So I'll not talk about a lot of upgrade. Milad will talk about that. But on the automation platform side, we've been adding certain features that we feel complete the automation, positioning that we are doing. So one of them is robotic process automation. RPA is now available as limited availability feature. If you have use cases for RPA, then feel free to create an SR so that we can enable RPA for the instance that you provide us, to enable it on. We also now have project support in B2B, and I'll show you a little bit about that. Oracle Managed Disaster Recovery is now available in limited regions. So in US, it's available for Ashburn and Phoenix, and in APAC, it's available for Singapore and Tokyo. We also are continuing to build on things like ability for you to invoke process from OIC Canvas, ability for you to invoke decisions from OIC Canvas, project support extending to these features. And we are continuing to build a lot of observability. So one of the highlights is that file server audit and file server logs will be available so that you can understand what activities are happening on the file server. There's also extended data retention that we've enabled for specific features within OIC. We continue to focus on healthcare. So Healthcare Edition is the latest addition or latest SKU that we have available as Oracle integration. And what we are doing is continuing to build on the features that we've already delivered. So for example, MLLP high availability is one of those features that we are continuing to work on. We also are working on private endpoint support for healthcare adapters. Now, this is important from the perspective of trying to integrate or access applications that would would need a secure connectivity channel from OIC into wherever they are deployed. So that being said, a lot of work is happening on the connectivity and pre-built. If you see here, it's a pretty busy slide. I will not go through each and every point, but the highlights are we have now MS Dynamics 365 adapter. We are also working on RabbitMQ and Amazon managed services for Kafka, Apache Kafka adapter. So these are in the works. These are all being built based on the the requests or the requirements that we've seen from customers. We've also been enhancing existing adapters. So for example, we now support debatching in Kafka adapter. We are supporting OPEX streams in GCP PubSub, Amazon SNS, etc. So these continue to be built, and you are aware of the Rapid Adapter Builder, which is essentially a framework for you to create custom adapters. So we continue to use it to build additional adapters, and of course, we invite you to build your own adapters for custom applications or applications for which we do not have adapter. So that's something that that we would encourage you to take a look at. We have partners who are being onboarded. So for example, Loftware, Kinex, and AgileLoft are some of the partners who have already started building adapters based on the Rapid Adapter Builder framework. There are a couple of features that we are working on. For example, masking sensitive payload fields in OIC. That's one of the features that we are specifically looking from security improvement perspective. There's also the support for outbound throttling that we are working on. There are other areas in SaaS and GIU that we are working on. So for example, we're working on delivering 30 pre-built solutions. And if you are building recipes or accelerators and would want it to be available, you could reach out to Jürgen from the perspective of seeing how you can be enabled to make these available to a larger OIC audience. So these are some of the things that we continue to work. We have delivered some of this already, and there are additional ones that are continuing to be delivered. Now, with that said, I want to sort of give you an idea of what we've been doing in OIC projects. Projects is one of the most important features of OIC 3. And the idea is very simple. The idea is that all the artifacts related to a particular work feature that you're trying to use is available as a project, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So what constitutes a work, or how do you decide to create a project? Essentially, it will depend on the projects, the actual OIC projects that you're running. So for example, if you're building a use case which is take Jira issues from or create Jira issues from ServiceNow incidents, then that could constitute a project. You could create projects based on the various line of businesses that your organization has. Each one of them can have a project, or you can have like specific workspaces built on the actual projects. One of the things that we are also looking at is making the artifacts shareable across projects, so you do not end up creating the same connection or the same integration again and again in all the projects, but actually have one copy that can be shared and leveraged by projects, to be used in OIC deployment. So some of the things that we would want you to look at is, if you have not already looked at projects, then there is a one-click package to project conversion. I'll show you that. And there's also what we would suggest is, using projects to do new integration development. So we understand if you are moving from OIC Gen 2 to OIC 3, all your integrations would land into the global workspace. But if you use this particular feature of converting packages to projects, then that'll be great. And then, of course, you can continue to build new projects, new integration deployments using project paradigm altogether. So there are observability enhancements that we are doing, and I'll show you that, how it becomes very interesting from project perspective. So let's, without further ado, go into the actual project screen, and I'm looking for my instance. So this is a project. It's called AA2410 demos. So you know that this is one of Neil's projects. But if I go over here on the left-hand side, so you will see there are some changes that have happened from UI perspective. One of them is that there are more functionalities here. So there are new tabs here. There are new buttons here, and I'll talk about those. But the artifacts that you have already been used to managing in a project, now you see a new one, which is the event. So events now has project support. So if I go into this particular event and I continue over here, I can see that I can provide the event structure, provide a payload that could become the event, the event that needs to be triggered off. And then you can specify some custom headers. Now, this is useful when you start doing filtering on events based on a certain criteria. So I could save this, and this is now available as an event definition. And then I can have integrations which are publishing this particular event or which subscribe to this particular event. So whenever the event is published, they immediately get kicked off and they consume the event, they take the payload and process it further. You'll also see the connections are here. But what I want to show you is that the newer features we are adding over here. So RPA is now available as a project paradigm. So you can see your robots, the environment pools, the robot connection types, etc., all available from the project itself. There's also the B2B, which is now available as a project. So I have my B2B documents here. The schemas that govern these B2B documents is available as a view here. And then I can manage the trading partners over here. So the great, Commiskey Incorporated, and you know who the owner is of this particular organization. I can create the trading partner definitions over here. So for example, I can create B2B identifiers. I can specify transports and agreements for this particular partner over here, all in the project paradigm. And then, of course, we have the support for healthcare. Now, this is not a healthcare edition, so you don't see this. But what I want to highlight is this, which is adding decisions as a first-class citizen in the projects. Okay, so looks like that. So believe me that this is, like an early access instance. So looks like there is something offline, but I do have a slide that I'll show you of how this works. In the project, as you can see, the design is just one part, but we also have the ability for you to define deployments. So if I go into this particular deployment, you will see that I have the ability to choose integrations, and not just choose integrations, but also choose which version of the integration I want as one unit of deployment. Unit of deployment is also useful when it comes to exporting a project. So if I go back to the development view, sorry, let's go back to development view over here. And if I click on this particular button here, which does the export of projects, so you will see that I have this ability to export it as a recipe, as an accelerator. But if I'm not choosing to do any of that, I can just export it as a developed project, and I can choose which deployment I want to export. So that's important. That's how deployment is useful for you as well. The observability tab has, a lot of new features here. These were already existing, but you may not be aware that we now have an audit button or an audit, tab over here. And if I move into, let's say, B2B, now I probably don't have anything over here in terms of the history. But if I look at robot, then I can see robot instances running. So if I had existing robot instances, they would be available over here. So we saw design, we saw deploy, we saw observe. Let's go back and look at some of the additional functionality that we've added. So from observability perspective, in the project view itself, you can see dependency between various artifacts. Now, this is the overall project view. And if it looks very busy to you, what you can do is you can actually create a view. So for example, let's say I'm interested in seeing what connections are there in this project and which integrations are using them. So if I click on connections here, I see that there are two connections. And if I highlight one of them, it will show, specific information about the highlighted artifact. So there are two connections here, and four integrations are using them. Three of them are using this particular REST trigger, for example. And then I can filter it further, right? So I can restrict view of seeing just one particular artifact that I'm interested in. I can go back into this particular view, and then I can also, show or hide minor versions over here. So if there is one particular minor version that I can see over here. But other than that, the observability is basically to help you give an overall view of the project, the artifacts, and the relationship between those artifacts. You also have a print view here, so you can print out this diagram and use it, or as a reference material within the project team. You can do search here. You can refresh or expand it, to cover the whole screen. Now, that's from the observability perspective. In fact, one of the other things that we are working is to have a similar, diagram available for you to look at from a runtime instance perspective. So assume you have a parent that is calling child integrations, and one of the instances of this particular integration has executed. How many child instances it invoked, and what is the status of those? So you can essentially have a visual view of that particular dependency as well. There are a couple of other features that we are working on. So this particular button, if you see push to repository, you can actually push the entire project to Git specific repository. So that is one of the features that we are working on. And when Jürgen was talking about the statement, which we basically say is like a disclaimer that these are features in work. They may or may not get delivered, or they may get delivered at a particular point in time. So this is one of them. You also have the ability to do role-based access control. So for example, here, I can specify who owns this particular project, which means they have access to everything over here. They can create and delete artifacts over here. I can then add people who can edit these artifacts. So for example, I have a colleague who I can give edit rights. So edit rights would also mean they have view and they can monitor. Or I can give someone only view rights. So for example, I have another colleague here who I can give only view rights. So they won't be able to edit. They'll be able to view these artifacts. And then I can have another person who I can probably provide, like, for example, the ability to only monitor. So they won't be able to edit or view, but they can only monitor artifacts in this particular, which means that they only have access to this particular observe button, right? So these are some of the features that we are working on in projects. As you can see, projects it keeps on evolving, getting more feature functionality. So I also wanted to show you one particular feature that I talked about earlier. So if I go into design and I go into packages over here, I can pick up one of the packages here. So for example, the CERP one, and I click here on the menu, and I can click on create project here, and this will automatically create a project based on this particular package. So if I was to, just say CERP project and then click on create, what it will do is it will generate the artifacts and create a project for me. So I can click here and go to the newly created project. It'll get loaded. But that is one click project creation for you from packages. So with that said, let me quickly go back here in the slide deck and summarize the discussion. So we talked about, how projects are one single place where you have access to all the artifacts. And then we talked about the various aspects of projects that we are supporting. This is one of the new features that I could not demo, but here is how it would work. So you could create decisions, and those decisions would have a criteria and a discount, a rule. The rule can be a rule table, or it can be an if then else. So there are different different ways for you to define rules. So for example, here, there is a rule defined for discount. And if the product is iBike, you get discount of 10%. If it's iCar, then you get discount of 15%. So you can, within this particular project view, you can also test these decision models without deploying them. So that is one of the things. This is how healthcare project looks like. So you've got the HL7 messages, there are schemas, and then there are fire profiles that you would have created. This is the B2B one, which we already had a look at. This is the dependency diagram. See how complicated this is. But if you wanted a limited view, then you could set up a view appropriately that would show you, only the artifacts that you are interested in. And then we talked about the role-based access control as well. So the idea here is to sort of give you a view of the work that is happening in projects, in OIC projects, and the recommendation that you start using this in your OIC deployment. So that said, I want to move to another topic, which we have Johannes as guest speaker. But before he talks about specific topic, which is the SOA container images, I wanted to do a quick refresh for those of you who are still working on SOA and will probably continue to work for some time while working on OIC as well. So from SOA perspective, the idea of SOA is very simple. It's a service-oriented architecture-based product that enables you to do application-to-application integration with mediation, orchestration, etc. Now, from SOA Suite perspective, we've always had the on-prem, installer that you've been using for a while. We also have it available on OCI. But before I talk about that, we are working on a Christmas gift to the SOA folks. So we will have SOA 14.1.2 available before the end of the calendar year. Yes, that's what we are targeting. And these are the high-level features or a subset of features that we are going to be making available. Hybrid integration, Apache Kafka adapter. These are the highlights. There are other features, of course, but this is what's going to be released very soon. And when it is released, it will have the standard Oracle support policy of 5 years of premier support and 3 years of extended support. So I don't want to, talk more about it, because very soon we will have it available as general availability. SOA is also available on OCI as a marketplace image. What this means is you can go to OCI marketplace and have a stack kicked off, which will provision for you the SOA cluster with the sort of features that you want. So whether you want service bus and people, or you want MFT deployment or a BAM deployment, so you can decide which type of domain you want to be you wanted to create, and then what size and shape of cluster you want, and it would provision a cluster based on that particular those particular inputs in the tenancy, in your tenancy, and then you manage it as you would manage the on-prem SOA. So this is something that's been available for quite a while. And the other image that's available is the container image. Container image was released in 2020. And what it has is the ability for you to deploy it either standalone for development or unit testing perspective, or you would deploy it in Kubernetes cluster, and we provide production support for that. So this is currently available for the Oracle Linux and Red Hat Linux, CNCF Kubernetes distribution on these Linux that's available. And then it supports the service bus, people, and ESS capabilities, right? So if you have application that is either one of these, or uses all of these, or combination of these, you can go ahead and deploy or spin up Docker containers. The best thing about this is probably the way we create the container. So we release container every quarter, and while it may have specific features, one thing that we ensure is the quarterly updates are always available as part of the container image itself. So with that said, what I want to do is hand over to Johannes. So Johannes has been working on SOA container images. And Johannes, why don't you describe what you've been able to do and show us a quick demo of the same.
Yes.
Over to you, Johannes.
Thanks, Ravi. Thanks for the introduction. Thanks for having me. What I want to show you today is how we can use those container images, not just in a production workload and in a big Kubernetes cluster, but you can also run this on your desktop, for example, also for development and testing instance. So what I want to show you today is how I'm using just a plain Docker environment and those container images that Ravi talked about to run an Oracle SOA Suite environment. And with this layered approach of the images, you will see in a few seconds that it's also very, very easy to create your own custom images with, for example, your custom patches. So what I'm having here is I'm having Docker containers running for Oracle SOA Suite, and you see everything is up and running. I have an admin server, I have a SOA server that is running my Oracle SOA Suite, and that environment is currently running the July CPU, the pre-built images that are provided from Oracle. And you can use this also as maybe as an alternative to the SOA Suite that comes with Oracle JDeveloper to really have a more like a production-like environment to do your development and testing of Oracle SOA Suite projects. And you can then easily also patch this. For example, recently for a customer, I needed to connect to the latest Oracle Microsoft 365 email server that requires OAuth authentication. And in order to do this properly, I was in need for an additional patch in order to all those patches that you can see here. And what you can do is you can, with the WebLogic patching tool that is available from Oracle, you can easily build your custom images that may contain additional patches. So as you see currently, I'm having here my Oracle database that serves as the metadata repository. And then I have an admin server here that is running on the pre-built Oracle provided July image with JDK 8 and Oracle Linux 7, 12.2.14. And I'm using the same image also to run a second container that is my SOA Suite managed server. And if I now want to create my custom image and apply an additional patch, it's really just a very simple command. I just have to call the WebLogic image tool. Need to copy it. And then I'm telling the image tool that I want to take from the Oracle Container Registry, the SOA Suite 12.2.14 in the July edition as a basis. I want to create a new image that is named SOA Suite 1, and I want to apply this patch over here. And this patch over here is a patch that provides access to you can use OAuth to connect to Microsoft 365 to fetch emails. And what the tool is then doing, it downloads the base image. If it's not already available, this may take some time, obviously. And in my case, the image was already downloaded, so it's very fast. And then it downloads the patch from my Oracle support, and it realizes that we need to patch OPatch as well from the version 16 to the version 17. And then it does patch first the OPatch, and then it applies this patch that I told the tool to apply with the MSO client credentials. And then it builds me a new image on top of the base image, and within just 31 seconds, I got a new image of Oracle SOA Suite, including this patch. And I can then now test this patch, just tear down my environment here, start a new environment with this new image that I created. And I can also have a very consistent flow that I can roll out this patch not only to my development environment, but if it works, also to my testing and production environment. And I always get the same code. My downtime goes down to just a few seconds, right? Because I just have to stop the environment and bring it up with the latest version of the image, and I don't have to do what I would need to do manually, bring down everything, apply the patch on production, bring up everything, and have maybe a 2 hours downtime or 30 minutes downtime, depending on the page size of the page. But I just create my image once, it's very fast, and then I can roll this image out to all my environments where I want to use the image. So how do I do all this? And I will quickly walk you through this in maybe 3 minutes or 2 minutes. Which steps to do. This is if you're running on Windows. I'm just using the Windows subsystem for Linux, and then I install a Docker, and on top of that Docker, I can then log into the Oracle Container Registry where all those pre-built containers from Oracle are available. Then I need a database. In my example, I take just the latest Oracle 23 AI free database. I create a network, I create a volume, I start my database. I create a second volume that is the domain home of my Oracle SOA Suite. And then I just provide a small environment file that tells how to configure my repository and how to create my domain, where I tell through environments variables how to connect to the database, what should be my very sophisticated password, what is the name of the domain, what is the port of the admin server. And the same thing goes there for the SOA server itself. What is the port I need to wire it to the admin server. I need to provide the name of my managed server, and I need to provide the port number of my managed server. And with this all being done, I then can just start up my Docker container, connect it to the SOA network that I created, tell it to use the admin server environment file to start the admin server. And then after that is up, I can use the same command to start the managed server. And this is really something that takes maybe 5 to 10 minutes to get those images downloaded and get an instance spinned up. And then if that is not enough, you can just shut it down. You can apply the patch as we did, and then you just bounce the environment and start it with my custom image instead of the Oracle provided image, and we can see that the patch is then available. If you want to see a little bit more in detail and not just get 70 lines of code reading in 2 minutes, you can have a look at the blog post that I created that has this in all details. I think Jürgen will show it in the show notes, where we'll describe a little bit more in detail how to set up the Docker host, how to start a database, how to either use the quick start environment or even run an interactive creation of the domain and the repository if you want to do something more fancy and configure your domain individually. And then I will also cover how you can do the patching. And I think Jürgen will share this. And with this very short introduction on how you can use the Docker and the Oracle provided container images, I would like to hand it back to Jürgen.
Johannes, excellent demo. Thank you very much. Exciting to see SOA Suite on container. And Ravi, thanks for the update and the preview of the new Oracle SOA Suite version. So we hand over to Milad. Milad, are you here?
Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And let me begin to share my screen and go to presenter mode. So upgrade, majority of you on the call should be familiar with what the upgrade is. At least if you're not yet upgraded, you must have been introduced to it. Why upgrade? Pretty much all these great features that Ravi demoed that we talked about, the other ones that you've seen in the previous webinars from Niall and the team, those are all in OIC3. I saw in one of the questions whether packages is available as part of the upgrade. And the answer is kind of yes. Not that upgrade provides you with that functionality, but upgrade takes you to OIC3, where you have access to packages and a lot more feature. OIC3 in general is a lot more scalable in terms of feature sets. We used to push features to Gen 2 on quarterly basis. In OIC3, we are pushing out features on bi-monthly basis. And we have so many features to release that in some cases we have to hold back on the number of features that we want to that we have available for an upcoming release. The goal is not to overwhelm customers with the number of features that we introduce in any given release. It's also scalable in terms of customer side. Pretty much in any benchmark that was set by Gen 2, OIC3 has exceeded. So in terms of adding message pack and how quickly those message packs will kick in or be available to use. In terms of provisioning new instances in OIC3, all those enhancements allows OIC3 to be a higher performing platform compared to Gen 2 and provide customers with a better user experience. The disadvantages we had with Gen 2 that some of you may be familiar with was increased time to market for any new features or bug fixes. So, for example, if we came across an SR that had to do with an identified bug, that bug to resolve it and push it to production, it could take a whole quarter. But that's not the case in OIC3. In OIC3, we can have hot patches overnight if we come across an issue that needs to be addressed right away. We can patch all our OIC3 instances in less than 24 hours, both dev instances and production instances. So that's a huge advantage when it comes to OIC3 compared to Gen 2. Slow provisioning, I mentioned when I was talking about OIC3. If you recall, if you had to, for example, failover or create a failover instance or the DR instance or provision a new instance, that it would take a long time in Gen 2 for the instances to come up. In OIC 3, it's just seconds where you go to the OCI dashboard and provision a new environment. You have that environment available to you right away. And then what you do in terms of Visual Builder and process automation is that you enable them individually if needed. Those, of course, are available in Enterprise edition of OIC 3. From a licensing model, OIC 3 and Gen 2 are completely the same. So nothing is added or removed when you go from Gen 2 to OIC 3. So the good news is that majority of our customers are upgraded. This is a Gen 2 to OIC 3 distribution chart. The better news is that all remaining instances will upgrade over the next few months. So our goal was to upgrade 80% of all the instances by the end of the year. We're slightly there, not quite, but as you can see, 76.32% of all the instances as of Monday were upgraded to OIC 3. So that resulted in increased user experience for customers who landed on OIC 3 after they went through the upgrade experience. And upgrade experience is pretty much different for different customers depending on what feature sets they use, how long they've been using Oracle integration for. Bringing legacy features to today's standards is slightly more challenging than building new features in OIC 3, but that is something we try to do as much as possible. The features that we handpicked to go from OIC 3 to from Gen 2 to OIC 3 were the most popular features that no one was using, features that were not performing as we had hoped, did not go from Gen 2 to OIC 3. So OIC 3, part of the clean experience that it provides is that it's not cluttered with features that no one uses or are not responsive. Another advantage that the upgraded customers, that group of 76.5% have compared to customers who are not yet upgraded, is that they have access to all these new features that go out on monthly basis. Keep in mind that we stopped bug fixes and new features to go to Gen 2 as of more than a year ago. Reason was that it didn't make sense to focus on two different platforms while we were trying to help customers transition from Gen 2 to OIC 3. So while for the past almost 2 years, 2.5 years, when we were upgrading customers from Gen 2 to OIC 3, Gen 2 continued to grow. OIC 3 continued to grow organically. So there were customers in Gen 2 who expanded their operations. And then there were new customers landing on OIC 3 who started their journey on OIC 3 from scratch. So the chart you're looking at shows a distribution for customers who are running on, or instances. Now, I shouldn't say customers because we have customers that have hundreds of instances, and we have customers who have only 2-3 instances. So these are instances on OIC 3 and instances on Gen 2. We still have about less than 30% of our operation running on Gen 2, but majority of instances are operating in OIC 3. The Gen 2 section, they could be customers with runtime process transactions. And as you know, there is a path to upgrade for customers with runtime process transactions, but the customer is in the driving seat in terms of when and how to go from Gen 2 to OIC3. There is a deadline by when they must do this, but pretty much the path is now available for customers with runtime process transactions to go from Gen 2 to OIC3. The other group of customers in that still Gen 2 bucket could be customers who are in active upgrade. So as I mentioned, we have customers with 2, 3 instances or 1 instances. We have customers with hundreds of instances, and everyone else in between. So some of these could be customers that started their upgrade, but they're not yet fully upgraded from Gen 2 to OIC3. And then customers who have not started their upgrade for any number of reasons, whether they were in active development or they had other operations going on, they have until the end of August 2025 to begin and end their upgrade. We have sent out the end of life notifications for Gen 2, and that would be August 2025. So think of it not as an end of life, but a replacement. But it is official, and the notifications have gone out. With that, I want to go back to the documentation and point out a few very important sections of the documentation. Pretty much this documentation is a living, breathing set of guidelines on upgrade, on pre-checks, on post-upgrade troubleshooting if you come across any. So if you haven't yet upgraded, or if you've been if you're in active upgrade, make sure you take advantage of this documentation that we update pretty much on weekly basis. One of my favorite sections is the pre-check issues. We began to call them readiness, but this pretty much, if you go to your upgrade window in your Gen 2 instances and come across any failed pre-check criteria, you can find much more information on how to resolve it, what it has to do with on this page. And this has links to several other documentation. It's very extensive. Not all of these would apply to you, but if you come across any issues, this is the section that you want to go to. So I'm not going to go through every single section of this documentation, but it is very extensive in terms of guidance on what to expect through your upgrade journey if you haven't yet upgraded. So let me stop here and hand it back to Jürgen for questions, for QAs. And
Milad, thank you very much for the update on upgrades. Can you please post the link for the documentation in the chat?
Absolutely.
So to wrap up today's presentation, at the resource page, you'll find all information that we presented today, including the Oracle integration website, the documentation. The documentation includes the upgrade details, and it includes live labs, which are hands-on labs, and you can use the free trial to run a demo and proof of concept with the live labs. Make sure you read the blogs. There's the blog for PROMATIS, there's the Oracle integration blog, there's Niall's blog. You find much more blogs, so please make use of them. And for the latest updates, please subscribe to our quarterly newsletter. With that, we would like to come to the questions and answers. So Ravi, thank you for answering so many of the questions. That's a wonderful job. I would like to read out for the benefit of all some of the questions. So first of all, the question goes to Milad regarding Oracle 24.12 patch and upgrade. Is there going to be an upgrade this calendar year in December, or is it done for the year?
So the upgrade factory is shut down for 2024, and also we're done with all the patching in 2024 as well. We consider this a change freeze time, last few weeks of 2024 leading to the holidays, and there are no patching or upgrade.
So time for cookies and Glühwein.
Yes, true, exactly.
Glühwein is a red hot wine we drink here in Germany. Okay, next question comes from Vivek. He would like to know more about projects. So Ravi, is projects replacing packaging?
So projects can be thought of, the next evolution of packages. It can be thought of more as workspace where multiple developers are coordinating and collaborating. As where packages is more of an organization concept for multiple integrations. From packages you evolve to projects, and projects is getting even more artifacts together. So as you can see, in packages you cannot have events as part of a package unit, but in projects you can have events as well. It's a way of organizing artifacts that goes beyond what packages were doing in Gen 2.
Okay. And Nancy would like to know if you can copy projects within different projects.
What you can do is you can share artifacts from one project to another project. So one of the ideas could be that you create a project called shared resources, in which you have integrations, connections, etc., that can then be shared with other projects who can leverage. So assume that you create, like a database connection that is shared, and then that shared connection can be used in different projects instead of every project creating its own connection with the same details.
Okay, and last question for projects. Adula would like to know if there is a folder concept available.
Yeah, so folder concept is not available currently. It's an interesting feedback. So we could look at exploring more of what that thought process is. I think it's influenced from the way things are organized in FA, and I'm happy to take forward that conversation in terms of understanding the thought process of that and whether we could have it in some way or another in the future.
Moving on to SOA Suite, will we also release 14C of Oracle Service Bus?
Yes, definitely. When I say SOA Suite, it encompasses Service Bus, People Manager, People Process Manager, Enterprise Scheduler, BAM, B2B, and MFT. So that's my definition. It's the overall umbrella term for all of these functionalities.
Okay. And a question for Johannes on the SOA Suite container. How do you handle the quarterly updates?
Yes, so basically the SOA Suite environment consists of two parts. The one part is the domain and maybe also the metadata repository in the database, which is of course persistent. And then you have more the source code, the application itself. And of course, if you replace the container with the July patch, with the October patch, for example, you will keep the domain home and all your configurations, your database connections and so on. And you will only replace the binaries with a new version. So that is, of course, persisted as well as the database, the metadata repository with all your runtime data is persisted. You don't want to throw that away.
Excellent, thanks. And the question for Milad, can you reschedule your upgrade window?
Absolutely, yes. So you can, to some degrees, you can reschedule your own upgrade from the drop-down menu on the upgrade page. If you don't have any options available, reach out to your account team member, and they'll be able to reschedule it from the back end for you.
Okay, so important to read the documentation and work with the Oracle account team.
Exactly.
Then a question on Oracle Integration 3, is managed disaster recovery available? And if yes, in existing new instances and in which domains?
So managed disaster recovery is not yet available for existing instances. So that is in our roadmap. That should happen in the coming calendar year. Currently, managed disaster recovery is available only for new instances, and that also the ones which are created in either Ashburn or Phoenix. So those are paired regions. If Ashburn is primary, Phoenix would be secondary, and vice versa. And similarly, Singapore and Tokyo. So if Singapore is primary, Tokyo would be secondary, and vice versa. So we are working on enabling existing integration instances to be DR supported in the coming calendar year, as well as making this managed disaster recovery available in other commercial regions.
Excellent, thank you very much. Ravi, any other question you want to point out which is important?
I think you covered most of them. I did make a list and those matched. There was one or a couple which were related to decisions in projects. So I think a lot of folks were excited to see decisions in projects. So yes, that is a feature that we're working on, and it will be available to be invoked as a service. Once you've created that decision, it can be published and be callable from integrations, etc. So decisions is going to be coming as project, and similarly, we'll have other pieces of process automation also available as project within the overall OIC umbrella.
Okay. Milad, anything you want to highlight?
Just upgrade as soon as possible if you haven't yet, and leaving it for last minute, it will just make that much more risky.
Fully agree, and use your test environments to do some proper testing on the development environment. Johannes, anything you want to add from the SOA perspective?
No, I just encourage everyone to use those container images, maybe take the upcoming 14C release as a basis and try it out. It's really very, very helpful.
Wonderful, thank you very much. Thanks for the speaker team. Thanks for the great presentations and demos today. So thank you very much. Here's the link to the resource pages with all the information for customers and partners. So please make use of it. If you have further questions, you can reach out to our team, Neil Commiskey in EMEA, Paulo Mota in South America, Ravi Chaplani in the US, Ravi Pinto in India, Steve Tintle in Asia, and myself for any kind of partner and marketing related questions. We would like to say thank you for an excellent year, and the next webcast will take place March 20th. Please complete the online survey once you leave, and we wish you all a Merry Christmas. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Happy New Year in advance as well.
Happy New Year. Thank you, Johannes.
Thanks. Bye. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everyone.
Milad. Thank you, Ravi.
Thanks, Jürgen. Bye.